Look at this simulation of the lower esophagus. When the muscular sphincter connecting it to the stomach weakens, highly corrosive stomach acid breaches that valve and washes directly into the delicate tissue of the chest cavity. This is the mechanical failure driving gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD. Left untreated, repeated acid exposure causes cumulative damage. The tissue scars and narrows, creating a stricture. The cells can mutate into a condition known as Barrett's esophagus, and eventually this chronic inflammation can lead directly to adenocarcinoma. Because these complications are severe, intervention is required, but except for a few emergency cases, surgery is never the first option. Medical treatment is always the mandatory first step. To give the esophageal lining the exact environment it needs to achieve true mucosal healing, a patient must commit to a strict, continuous trial. This process requires at least 6 months. Preventing irreversible damage means we have to lock down the stomach's environment. We do this through a precise 4-part protocol that modifies the patient's physical posture, diet, and chemical balance before any surgeon picks up a scalpel. Step 1 of the protocol addresses the basic physics of the stomach. We have to establish mechanical barriers to keep acid from sliding upward into the chest. Elevating the head of the bed on 6-inch blocks ensures stomach fluid settles safely overnight. During the day, avoiding stooping is critical, as bending tips contents toward the sphincter. Finally, reducing body weight and avoiding tight garments prevents squeezing the cavity and forcing acid upward. Neutralizing this upward physical force is the foundation of the entire treatment. If a patient's posture or clothing is constantly forcing acid into the esophagus, it will overpower any medication we prescribe later. Step 2 requires restructuring dietary habits. We need to control the physical volume inside the stomach and eliminate specific chemical triggers. Patients must eat small meals. A small volume processes smoothly downward, while a large meal overfills the cavity and strains the sphincter until it breaches. Timing is critical. Patients must not eat just before bedtime. The stomach must be empty before lying down. We also remove compounds that increase acid volatility or relax the stomach muscles. Smoking, excessive consumption of alcohol, tea, and coffee must all be strictly avoided. If a patient eats a large, highly acidic meal right before going to sleep, they bypass our mechanical defenses entirely. That renders the next step in our protocol completely useless. Once the physical and dietary barriers are in place, Step 3 initiates chemical suppression and motility enhancement. We start by prescribing basic antacids. These must be taken on a precise schedule, exactly 1 hour after meals and again just before bedtime. To actively move food out of the stomach faster, we can use motility drugs like metoclopramide. This increases esophageal peristalsis and accelerates gastric emptying, giving acid less time to pool. Historically, H2 antagonists were used to block acid. Today, the most effective tier of medication relies on proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs, such as omeprazole, lansoprazole, and pantoprazole. PPI drug molecules physically lock into specific receptors on the gastric lining, shutting down the cell's ability to produce acid. This targeted suppression heals esophagitis in the majority of cases. Even patients with severe strictures often respond well to long-term treatment after dilatation. However, this level of suppression requires clinical monitoring. There is some suspicion that the long-term use of these drugs might increase the incidence of adenocarcinoma in the lower esophagus and cardia, meaning clinicians must carefully weigh the duration of the prescription. Step 4 is the final phase of our protocol, auditing the patient's existing prescriptions. We must identify and eliminate any drugs the patient takes that actively sabotage our work. There are 3 specific classes to avoid: muscle relaxants, anticholinergic drugs, and tranquilizers. This simulation shows the physiological failure these drugs cause. They artificially loosen the muscular sphincter ring. Instead of holding a tight seal, it goes slack. Failing to audit a patient's current medications will quietly dismantle the structural integrity of the esophagus from the inside, nullifying the entire 6-month protocol. When a patient strictly adheres to all 4 steps, physical, dietary, pharmacological, and the medication audit, for the full 6 months, we evaluate the outcome. We stop medical treatment and consider surgery if the symptoms are completely intractable despite vigorous therapy, or if those symptoms recur immediately upon cessation of the medication. Surgery is also indicated immediately if the patient develops severe physical complications like ulcerations, stricture formation, high-grade dysphagia, or metaplasia to columnar epithelium. This visualization illustrates the mechanical goal of the anti-reflux operation. The surgeon restores the intra-abdominal segment of the esophagus by mobilizing the cardia. They wrap and narrow the stomach tissue to lock the tube safely below the diaphragm, preventing it from sliding back. A disciplined 6-month medical protocol is the definitive test. It will either fully heal the mucosal lining, or it will yield the precise clinical evidence required to justify anatomical reconstruction. Chronic acid reflux is, at its core, a mechanical failure. When the lower esophageal sphincter loosens and fails to close off the stomach, gastric acid splashes freely upward into the esophagus, causing severe damage. Fixing this medically requires a simple physical correction. You have to increase the intraluminal pressure at the very base of the esophagus to recreate a one-way barrier. But that creates an immediate anatomical dilemma. A barrier built tight enough to permanently stop acid from coming up is often too tight to let food comfortably pass down. This sliding scale graphic illustrates the trade-off every surgeon has to navigate. On one end, you have maximum reflux prevention. On the other, the risk of esophageal obstruction. Turning up the dial on one almost always impacts the other. Surgeons manage this balance using 3 distinct architectural approaches: the full wrap of the Nissen, the partial wrap of the Belsey, and the tension-anchored Hill procedure. Committing to one of these surgeries means deliberately choosing a permanent anatomical compromise. To decide which one fits your body, you need to understand exactly how they are built. The most common procedure is the Nissen Fundoplication. Working through a vertical midline incision in the abdomen, the surgeon exposes the surgical field by carefully dividing the triangular ligament and retracting the left lobe of the liver to the right. The esophagus is then fully mobilized. If the surgeon finds a gap in the esophageal hiatus, the opening in the diaphragm where the esophagus passes through, they repair it with non-absorbable sutures to tighten the foundation. Next, the upper short gastric vessels are divided to free up the upper part of the stomach, called the fundus. The surgeon must exercise extreme care here to protect the spleen, which sits immediately adjacent to these vessels. Looking at this diagram, you can see the defining characteristic of the Nissen. The surgeon pulls that freed stomach fundus completely behind and around a 3 to 4 centimeter segment of the lower esophagus, suturing it to itself in a full 360 degrees. Notice the pressure arrows on the schematic. Because the esophagus is completely enclosed, this specific technique creates the absolute highest intraluminal pressure possible in the abdominal esophagus. As a result, the Nissen is incredibly effective. For entirely blocking acid reflux, it remains the gold standard. The trade-off is entirely mechanical. That 360-degree wrap carries a significant risk of being constructed too tightly, leaving the patient with severe esophageal obstruction, where swallowing becomes incredibly difficult. Because of this risk, mandatory postoperative barium swallow examinations are performed to ensure liquids and solids can physically pass through the newly constructed valve. The Nissen offers the ultimate physical defense against acid, requiring the patient to accept the highest risk of post-surgery swallowing complications. The Belsey Mark IV completely changes the point of entry. Instead of the abdomen, this is a transthoracic operation, going straight through the chest cavity via the 6th intercostal space. Surgeons opt for this route when they anticipate severe adhesions. Bypassing the abdomen entirely allows them to safely navigate heavily scarred tissue that would make a standard approach dangerous. Once inside, the cardia is freed from the diaphragm, and the esophagus is aggressively mobilized all the way up to the aortic arch to ensure there is plenty of length to work with. This cross-section schematic highlights the Belsey's architectural shift. Instead of a full wrap, the stomach fundus covers the front and sides of the esophagus, but deliberately stops at 2/3 of the circumference, leaving the back exposed. As the view shifts to a profile, you can see the goal is to anchor a 4-centimeter segment of the esophagus down into the abdomen without totally constricting the passage. By leaving the back of the esophagus open, the Belsey significantly reduces the immediate risk of severe postoperative obstruction. Swallowing is generally easier right out of the gate, but an incomplete valve means incomplete protection. In long-term follow-ups, patients with a Belsey procedure experience a noticeably higher rate of reflux recurrence compared to a full wrap. The Belsey secures an easier recovery and navigates severe abdominal scarring, trading away total, lifelong immunity to acid to achieve it. The Hill procedure returns to the abdomen, but operates on a different philosophy. During the initial esophageal mobilization, the phrenoesophageal membranes, which are the natural tissues securing the esophagus, are deliberately kept completely intact. The surgeon narrows the hiatal opening drastically, placing sutures until only a single finger can slip between the hiatal margin and the esophagus. The success of this procedure relies on one critical piece of anatomy, the median arcuate ligament, a tough, fibrous band located near the base of the diaphragm. This anatomical map shows the mechanism called a posterior gastropexy. The surgeon passes sutures through the gastroesophageal junction and ties them directly into that rigid arcuate ligament, pulling the anatomy taut to lock it in place. You can see on the pressure gauge the precise outcome of this tension. It mechanically forces the sphincter pressure up to a highly calibrated 40 to 50 millimeters of mercury. Notice what is missing: a bulky stomach wrap. The Hill engineers a high-pressure barrier purely through exact structural anchoring. Because there is no wrap to fall back on, the barrier relies entirely on the surgeon accurately placing sutures to achieve the perfect tension. It is highly effective, but deeply reliant on specialized surgical expertise. The Hill procedure offers an elegant fix that avoids obstruction issues almost entirely, provided you have a surgeon with the technical mastery required to execute the anchors. To lay out these trade-offs clearly, let's look at this decision matrix comparing the approach, architecture, and primary risks of all three. The Nissen utilizes a 360-degree wrap to achieve maximum pressure, carrying the highest risk of mechanical obstruction. The Belsey uses a transthoracic approach and a partial wrap, trading immediate obstruction risks for a higher likelihood of future reflux recurrence. The Hill relies on pure anchor tension to hit exactly 40 to 50 millimeters of mercury, completely avoiding a wrap, but demanding immense technical precision. The Nissen is the definitive choice for a patient whose absolute priority is ending reflux forever, and who is willing to manage a potentially difficult adjustment to swallowing solid foods. The Belsey is necessary if severe internal scarring forces a chest entry, or for a patient who prefers a looser valve, accepting the trade-off of potential heartburn years down the line. The Hill is ideal for restoring physiological pressure naturally, provided you have access to a specialist trained in that specific tension anchoring technique. There is no universally perfect surgery for GERD. Success comes down to matching the right architectural compromise to your specific anatomy and your personal tolerance for risk.
If you found this video informative, please like and share, comment what you would like to see next, and subscribe to the channel to get notified about future informative videos.